Greetings, I am user Kanzar and I am the developer of the jnostromo drivers. The jnostromo drivers are Linux drivers that support the Razer Nostromo and recently the Belkin N52 and N52TE devices. The reason I developed the jnostromo drivers is that Belkin and Razer do not support the Linux operating system and do not provide Linux drivers. So the jnostromo fills the gap for me so that I can utilize the Razer Nostromo on my own system. Now, I've also designed the drivers to be tournament legal. And what does that mean? Well, other devices and even the official Razer Nostromo drivers provide mechanisms such as macros that can give opponents an unfair advantage. What is a macro? Macro is just you press one key and it outputs multiple keys. So this can help with certain games. However, if you want to play in a competitive, fair environment, you cannot have these enabled. So I chose deliberately not to implement the macro feature that is available in Belkin and Razer's official drivers. So it's a conscious decision so that people that use the jnostromo drivers don't have to worry about being banned, say from Battle.net playing Diablo 3 or StarCraft 2 or playing League of Legends. They can happily use these device drivers and not worry about being banned or being called a cheat. So the device drivers work on the Linux operating system, from Ubuntu to Fedora. The drivers are also supported on 32-bit and 64-bit architecture.
So this section is the installation section. Before you can install jnostromo, you need to download Java 6 or higher. I recommend the Oracle Java for Linux, version 7.5 update 5. Seems to be pretty good. So you can get it by going to www.java.com and then en/download. And then just click on the free Java download and select the various packaging type, RPM or tar.gz. And if you're in Ubuntu, I believe there's an Ubuntu Java. If you just type that in Google and go to Java Community Ubuntu Documentation, and that will direct you to how to install the latest Java in Ubuntu, because the Oracle Java is no longer in the software repositories in Ubuntu, so you have to do it manually, unfortunately. You can try OpenJDK. That is in the software repository. So if you go to Ubuntu Software Center and type in OpenJDK, it's there. So I'd recommend, if you're going to try it, Java 7. I haven't tried it yet with jnostromo. So if you get it to work, let me know in the comments below. So those are the requirements. In order to install jnostromo, you first have to download it, and you need to go to sourceforge.net/projects/jnostromo, then click on the Files tab, and then select 1.5 or whatever the latest jnostromo version is. And then you have two options. You can either get the 32-bit installer, which is the first one, or the 64-bit installer. Since I'm running a 64-bit machine, I will select this one. So you just click on it, and then it should automatically download. So I'm not going to download it because, of course, I already have it locally. So, and that's right here. So in order to install it, open up a terminal. I already have one up. Navigate to wherever that's located. Right now it's on my desktop. And then to install it, you use sudo or go to, you need root privileges to do it. So sudo, then /jnostromo 1.5 -linux -x86 x64-installer.run. And enter in your password. So it says, welcome to the jnostromo setup wizard. Click forward, and this is the GPL general public license, so agree to that. Click forward, and then install it wherever you like. I put mine in home, my user directory, and then software, but /opt is just as good. And then click forward, and then forward again, and then we can view the README file. So go ahead and read through that. One thing I will mention, if it's the first time you're installing jnostromo, you'll need to log out of your session and log back in before you can use jnostromo. The installer sets up a group and adds you to that group, but in order for your session to recognize that group, you have to log out. And I've looked, I don't think there's any way around this. And the reason you get added to a group is to access write privileges for the jnostromo, which I need in order, or the drivers need in order to use it. So anyways, once you're done installing, if you have it installed before, log out, log back in. If you've installed previous versions like 1.4, then you can just use it. So hit OK. And that does it for the installation section. So this is the GUI overview section. In this section, we will look through the general functionality of jnostromo. So the first thing we'll do is we will start up the program. And you do that by double-clicking on the jnostromo desktop icon. So the first thing you might notice is the name, jnostromo eSports Configurator. And what that means is this driver is designed to be tournament legal for esports or electronic sports. So I have not implemented macros. It's basically one-to-one mapping from a key press to a key command. The next thing you'll notice is there are two tabs. There's the Assign Buttons tab, which brings up this overview. This is where you actually configure the key bindings. The next tab is the Manage Profiles tab, and this allows you to do specific functions for your profiles, so game-specific or application-specific profiles. Go back to Assign Buttons. At the bottom, we have the driver version number, which is 1.5, and below that is a bunch of icons, and these are icons representing libraries and tools that I have used to develop jnostromo. So the first one is information about jnostromo itself. The next is about Java, because Java rocks, and product version 1.6 is what the target compile is for. And Linux is the target operating system for now. Install Builder, it's the tool I use for creating the graphical install. DB4 is a database, embedded database that holds your profiles. And last but not least, but JInput, and that's responsible for connecting to the Razer Nostromo hardware. And right beside those icons is the firmware version, which I believe I'm not actually detecting that on the device. It's what I've seen Razer Nostromo set for in their software drivers. So anyways, it doesn't really mean too much right now. I'll have to investigate trying to get that version number from the hardware. However, device does. So the jnostromo supports both the Belkin N52TE and N52 and the Razer Nostromo. Awesome. So the device just lets you know what device you're connected to. And status means if it's on or off. And I will show that functionality later on. And the next is we have these function buttons to the right. Edit mode, I'll go into detail later on, but it basically allows you to press a button on this Nostromo or Belkin N52TE, and you can configure it very easily. OK actually saves any kind of modifications, and cancel, of course, cancels it. So that's about it for the GUI overview section. This next section we're exploring Manage Profiles, so let's click on the Manage Profiles tab. So in here you can see all of the games that I have bindings for. So the first thing we'll look at is creating a new profile. So click on the New Profile button and enter in a unique name. Maybe we'll call it Test 1.5 and hit OK. You can have spaces, you can have other characters, it's fine. The next we can look at is the Export button. So if we click on the profile that we want exported, then click on the Export button, and we'll put this on the desktop. And you don't need to enter in a name because it automatically names it based off of the profile name. So just select the directory you want to save it to, click on Save, and what you'll see down here is that it's created a new profile. So let's delete this. So click on, again, select the profile you want, and it doesn't have to be the current profile. So we'll get to that later, but it doesn't have to be the current profile, it just has to be the selected profile. So select it and click on the Delete button. So it's no longer here. And I wanted to do this so that we can do the import of it. So say you download a profile from a friend or from the jnostromo website. The easiest way to get it in is just clicking on the import, navigate to the desktop, and select the profile and hit open. And as you can see, it's now here. The buttons below, we can let's use what's interesting. How about Diablo 3? Set as your current profile. So this just switches between different profiles. Here's the North. Go back to Diablo 3. So select, and then we're going to try to print it out as a PDF. So this is a printable version. We'll go to Desktop. And here you actually need to create the name. So we'll just say d3 printable.pdf. And what this does is it do a full screen like that. What this does is it writes out the key bindings as well as the description for the key bindings, and we'll get to how to do that in another section. But what this shows is really an overview of what your keys are bound to. And this particular version is printer friendly, so it minimizes the ink for your printers. And it has it prints out all 8 key maps, even if you have it only have configurations for 2, which is what I have for Diablo 3. But this is also a good way of sharing your key maps with friends, just saying, hey, look, this is how I have my mappings. So if you want a more visually pleasing version, you can click as Save as PDF, and we'll just do D3 Graphical. So same thing down here. So it's just a little bit more interesting background color, more interesting colors, but horribly inefficient for printing. So same information as the printable one, just different graphics. Okay, well, that about does it for the Manage Profiles section. This section describes the Assign Buttons tab, so let's go ahead and go to Assign Buttons. First thing you might notice is the current profile. This is another way to select which profile is being used. Right now I have it set to default. And what default means is the key configuration of the Nostromo, and I believe the N52 and N52GE. If you don't use this driver program, that it will map, like button 1 will map to tab, button 2 will map to Q. So it is the default key bindings. And if you click on the reset button, it will change everything to the default. So if we, I'll just do this real quick. So I've noticed I've changed it. If I click reset, it goes back. And notice when you make any kind of changes in here that they won't work unless you hit the apply button and then OK. So they won't be saved to your profile. So since we're going to be doing some configuration changes, let's click on test 1.5, which we created in the profile Manage Profiles section. So the first thing I like to do when making a new profile is selecting the Set Key Map Description button. And what this does is it provides a general overview of what you're trying to make your key bindings for. So for this, it's just going to be test for demonstration. But you might want to put StarCraft 2, Protoss key bindings, or Counter-Strike, IROC bindings, type something like that. So, anyways, Set Key Map Description allows you to put some information about the key map. So maybe one of the easiest ways of configuring jnostromo is by using these buttons here. So in the picture. So all these buttons are clickable, so just click on, say, button 1, and it brings up this menu. This menu is used for configuring button 1. So we have some options. The first one is single key, which I showed just before. So in this box, you hit any key on the keyboard and it'll map. So we'll hit keyboard T and hit OK. And if we hit OK, it shows up here, which indicates that now button 1 is mapped to T. So if we click on that again, if we click on that again, then we can choose a mouse button. So we can select, left mouse click, double click, middle click, right click, scroll up or scroll down. We can select a key map. So what this means is we can switch to key map 2, for instance. And we'll set that to key map 2 just to show you later on. But this allows you, if I click on 1, it'll switch to key map 2 and the bindings for key map 2. Disabled means that that key will, if you press that key, nothing will happen. There'll be no binding for it. Setting this description, this indicates currently what the description is set to. So normally when you change it, it will change to whatever the button is. So you can say this button is not used and hit OK. and you say, well, how do I know what the description is? If you hover over the button, then it will show you what you've just typed. These buttons don't have that currently enabled. So on the left-hand side here is the key mapping for the buttons here. So you can also bring up the same menu as you did here as here. Oh, and I forgot, the very last item in the combo box is the default. So it switches back to default. Oops. Alright. So 1 through 14 is listed here. Button, I think this is button 16. Yep. So this button maps to here. Button 15 maps to here. The scroll up and down I did not include here because it's a little bit difficult to understand that, so you have to use the wheel up, wheel button, and wheel down here to modify those. And same for the directional pad, the D-pad. So it's a little bit weird. If you look on your Razer Nostromo, or I'm assuming also the N52 and N52TE, up is not actually this button. Up is here, and there's an arrow on the physical hardware. So up is here, and this up there maps to this up. And left, right, down. It's weird when you look at it, but it feels right when you're using it with your hand because the way your thumb is positioned. So let's go ahead and let's just set this to A. We'll set 2 to a key map 2. And I didn't describe this, but you can also select it. So switch back when released. That means if you're holding the button, you're on key map 2. But as soon as you let go of the button, then you switch back to the previous key map. So if we're on key map 1, we press the button, we're on key map 2. Then we release the button, we're back on key map 1. We'll just do key map 2. And we'll set a description and just say my first button. And then we'll set a description here, my first key map. And if we hit apply, then this should all be saved for test 1.5. The next part of this interface is display descriptions. So this brings up the printable version of the image that we saw in Manage Profiles. You can't save this. It's just to show you an overview of your descriptions and your key bindings without actually having to save it out. And it's only for whatever key map you're on. So we're on key map 1, so it shows the layout for key map 1. It's used just to quickly to remind yourself without having to open up the PDF and without having to save. Oh, I forgot what my key bindings look like. So what do? I just select the display descriptions button. So hopefully you'll find that useful. I find it useful when I'm switching games. And the tabs down here I didn't describe yet, so let me describe them now. Obviously we're on the first key map. You can have 8 different key maps. Each one of these can have different configurations. So let me just show you real quickly. I have a, with Diablo 3 there's 2 key maps, right? So key map 1 has keys from gameplay, general, social, and HUD. This is from within the Diablo 3 menu system. And key map 2 is just emotes. and you can see those. Okay, well, that does it for the assign button section. Alright, this is the webcam on hand section. What does that mean? Well, it's a picture of using webcam of the jnostromo. Excuse me. Reset. Okay, this is the reset. Okay, this is the webcam on hand section where you can see a webcam image of the Razer Nostromo and my hand. Hello. And we'll just go through a few of the features that utilize the Razer Nostromo. So the first one is edit mode. So in order to enable edit mode, click on the edit mode button. And what this does is it allows you to configure the keys by just pressing, say, key button 1. And it brings up that. Actually, let me switch to test 1.5 because I do not want to modify. So if we press key button 3, then it opens up a dialog, and let's just select a key, maybe we'll call it space, and hit OK, and then hit OK. So as you can see, for button 3, space has been added, and we didn't select that on the menu at all. We just clicked on the button. So button 4 brings up again the key mapping, and you can say, we'll disable that, hit OK. So this might be a convenient method for some people to configure your buttons, because you only have to press the buttons. You can do scroll, so scroll up, scroll down, middle click. You can click on that, which is button 16. You can use the D-pad up, and of course button 15. So all of the buttons are fully configurable through edit mode. And to stop or disable edit mode, just click on the button again, and it turns it off. So one thing I want to note, that if you are in edit mode, then the key bindings will not work outside of the jnostromo drivers. So make sure you click on the edit mode to get out of it. So the next thing I want to show is just the key configurations that we did. So here is a text pad, or it's a note program. So I'm just going to show you, if I click on 1, it does A. If I do 2, now we're actually in key map 2, so look at key map 2. So if I press 1, it's going to do a tab. If I press 2, it's going to do a Q. So if we go back, well, we actually can't go back to key map 1 because it's not configured. So let's do key map 3, and button 3, and we'll go back to key map 1. Hit apply. So if we hit 3 now, so notice we're still in key map 2. If we hit 3, now we're back in key map 1. So let me just show you this. I will go back to here, and we'll select key map, and we'll switch back when released. So as you know, we are in key map 1. If we hold down 2, so I'm holding it down, now key map 2 has tab, right? And notice I won't be able to use this button because it is being basically overwritten because we're holding down button 2, so it's really not possible to use that button. So you might as well mark it disabled. And then if I release, let go, we're back in key map 1. Key map 2, key map 1, key map 2, key map 1. Hope that makes sense. Again, that's your D-pad going up and down. So yeah, that's all I wanted to show you on using the webcam for this. Now if I just slide this out of the way and show you the keyboard, so pardon the shaky cam. Alright, yes, I have a Razer Vespula. Anyways, this is the connection to the Razer Nostromo, and I have it plugged into my keyboard, which happens to be an HP. I know I don't have everything Razer, but I do have a lot. I've got the Razer Hibiscus mouse, and of course the Nostromo, their mouse pad, and I've got their awesome headphones that start with CH. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's kind of weird. So, anyways, this is again connected. So if we disconnect it, if you notice on the screen, the drivers picked up that, hey, you disconnected the Nostromo and we no longer have access to it. So if I reconnect it, that takes some skill, and notice that it's been connected. So if you fire up your drivers and the status is off, it most likely means that you're not connected anymore. Alright, well that brings the end of the webcam on hand section. This section describes the system tray. So at the top right of the screen, this would be for desktops like Cinnamon or GNOME Shell. I don't know if this works in Unity. Probably not. From my understanding, you won't have this in Unity, which is a problem, and I'm hoping in version 1.6 I can implement a system tray for Unity, or whatever they call it, app indicator, I think. So straight out of the box, Java doesn't work with Unity, of course, because it's a new window manager. So anyways, if you're not using Unity, you're awesome, and also the system tray will work for you. If you are using Unity, I'm sorry, in so many ways. So anyways, let's get to it. If you right click on the system tray, you'll see a display, and then that's the second. So actually the system tray doesn't work quite so well in using GNOME 3. So Cinnamon's based off of GNOME 3, so is GNOME Shell. It tends to cut off the very first item in the menu, whereas with GNOME 2 it worked completely fine. But anyways, you don't need the first item because the first item is about, and I selected it anyways. But you can also find information about jnostromo down here. So anyways, go back, right click. Display is used to pull up this menu, so if you hit OK, it disappeared, right? So it was hidden, and now we want to bring it back. So we right click and click on display. The next useful item is so if we're hidden and we think, it's been an hour since I've used my computer, what profile am I on? Right click and you'll see immediately it's test 1.5. So if we change it to say Diablo 3, hit OK, and we have Diablo 3. Another convenient, so I haven't actually told you how to close it, right? So the way to close it is by selecting exit. So I believe if you do this, it doesn't close it, right? Which is a problem. So it's a problem for people in Unity. But it's not a problem for everyone else. So if you right-click, it'll actually exit the program by selecting the exit button. To start it back, you have to hit jnostromo again. And we're back. I currently don't have a setting a profile by default. It's always on default, and maybe in next versions I'll have that option. Some other user requested that we have this automatically minimized on startup, so that will probably be a feature in 1.6.
Thank you for watching this tutorial on the jnostromo drivers version 1.5. To find out more information about jnostromo, or to check out and share your profiles, go to the monkey-games.com webpage, which will be in the links down below. If you're interested in keeping up on the development progress, then you can check out the SourceForge webpage, which is also down below. I plan on continuing support for the jnostromo drivers, so please feel free to contact me if you have questions, comments, or concerns, or even suggestions on the future development of the jnostromo drivers. So you can do that also on the SourceForge webpage in the forum section, which is down below. Alright, well thanks again and happy gaming!